Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to be talking about a special game this time. We're going to be talking about Phantasy Star. Perhaps you've heard of it for the Sega Master System. Okay, so this game was nominated by Mixing Metaphor Soup. This is a slush pile nomination. So yes, we do actually do those. It was developed by Sega and published by Sega for the Sega Master System. Earliest release date and territory appears to be December 20th, 1987 in Japan. Who's with me to talk about Phantasy Star?
This is Norm, normally Retro.
And I'm the Great Clade.
So if you recognize Norm's voice, there's a reason for that. Norm is our theme song MC. So he's the guy you hear at the beginning of every episode. And he does, like, I think I know every last word of it by heart by now because I have to edit these.
Are you serious?
I know I could do it myself,
impressed.
but I don't want to embarrass myself, but I could. And it's like,
Even the hard part with the long part at the end?
I don't know whether I could do that.
Okay.
I don't know whether I could do that. I know the words for sure. But it's like, you have no idea how much I hear your voice in my head. Cause that song has been stuck in my head for almost since I started almost since we added it. It's like, It's like the go-to thing, especially right after an episode gets posted.
That's hilarious.
I can't get it out. It's like, it is stuck there.
I'm still supposed to write the verse out for somebody, but I haven't gotten around to doing it. So I don't know. Cause I didn't write it down. And, I just kind of like spit it into my voice recorder. And
really?
And just went over it a bunch of times until I memorized it and then spit it into the microphone.
Now, we will talk about Phantasy Star, I promise, but I'm curious, is that how you do most of your songs?
That's how I do all my songs, because if I write it, I can't remember the cadence. So if I vocally say it, I can remember it easily because, I hear it. So it's much easier that way. So I just basically freestyle and cut it into parts.
Wow. I'm impressed. And we got one more person with us.
I am Word on the Wind.
Welcome. Glad you could make it right on time. So, Norm, don't let me forget before we go. I want you to be able to plug your, I don't know, probably SoundCloud, right? Or is it a...
You know what? Now, the SoundCloud's coming later, but I want to plug my Rise From Your Gwave. Remember, that's Gwave, W, not R.
So where can we find that?
That's on YouTube.
Okay. So, and you're Normally Retro on YouTube as well?
On Twitter.
On Twitter. Okay, so go to Normally Retro on Twitter. I say that in the end of every show, but so people do know that. But make sure,
This is my opportunity to hear it because I don't listen to the end of the show.
Oh, you Philistine!
I'm on the show. Why do I need to listen to it?
So let's get on Phantasy Star. Who here played Phantasy Star recently?
So actually this last week or so is the first time I've really played the original Phantasy Star.
Anybody else? Any other first timers?
This is my first time playing it, but I've known about it for how many years now? Decades.
Yeah, it's one of those. Now, has anybody played like say Phantasy Star 2 or one of the other Phantasy Stars?
I've poked at the all the Mega Drive ones, and the only one I've finished is 4, which is in my mind the only one worth finishing.
Same. I finished 4, and I did that about, 15 years ago?
I've just about beaten the other 3. I think I finished 4, then I think I lost, my Genesis before
I played 3. I played 3, but got irritated and just shut it off. I didn't like it.
Yeah, 3 is kind of a hard sell. I can appreciate a lot of, concepts and ideas that went into it, but boy, howdy, their implementation is, ooh.
So 1987 puts this game, let's say, I think it's after Dragon Quest II, maybe?
Somewhere in that ballpark, before FF1.
It's really similar to Dragon Quest to me.
It is and it isn't. It's amazing because it's like, for it to be so close to Dragon Quest and to have come up with most of the same, because remember, Dragon Quest is trying to, translate the kind of computer RPG tropes to a console game. And its answers for the most part became kind of the standard, with the exception of needing to tell yourself to climb upstairs and things like that.
A command to tell yourself to go up the stairs.
I've played NetHack lately.
I've heard the Japanese versions of Dragon Quest games to this day still require that just for nostalgia's sake, or maybe you can turn it off.
No, the Super Famicom.
I'm going to go with no on that one.
Yes, pass.
I could tell you, the Super Famicom remakes don't have that.
Mm-hmm. Can confirm.
Too bad.
But
too bad. I'm Xerxes, and I endorse tedium.
Yeah. So it's so anyway, so a lot of the things that you see in in Dragon Quest are there. So they do like the wizardry style, like, you know, you just have a monster show up and the monster just shows up and it's like a first person thing and you do that and the combat works the same and stuff like that. But it's got the dungeons, the dungeon crawling dungeons, which are really cool. And I don't think those are in any of the other Phantasy Star games, correct?
They are not.
They, in an interview on Shmuplations, they said they wanted to do it in part 2, but they said the mechanics would be way too hard to do and it would be like take too much manpower and time. And they said no.
I wonder whether they were like, so we can't do mazes for the dungeons anymore. Why don't we just make all the dungeons gigantic airport hangars with like teleport pads everywhere and make sure you're just wandering around in rooms that are so big you can't see the walls.
Um,
Like they are mazes, just not in the sense that, you know, they're first person mazes.
I know that one is like multi-layered too. It's like 5 levels. This looks insane on part 2.
Yeah, part 2 I felt like was more of a slog than this one. This game's like it's not too short, but it goes quickly enough, and I felt like it's got a lot of cool features. I mean, like for instance, like the enemies have a little bit of animation, right?
That's dope. I love it.
And we promised our buddy Taxal that we mentioned that the dungeon crawling segments where you go into the dungeons, you'd think that they'd be like very herky-jerky, like just moving, like chunking along, one block and without any transition. But it actually does have pretty smooth scrolling, which I imagine was not an easy thing to accomplish.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this is one of the most visually impressive games on the Master System.
Yeah, even of that era, honestly.
It really benefits from the super bright, like, Master System color palette, right?
Mm. Yeah. It's really good. It actually kind of mixes up the palettes throughout the dungeons. Like the ice palette or the ice planet has like, instead of like all the floors and walls and ceilings being the same color, like it can be for a lot of the dungeons, it makes like the floors and ceilings black and just keeps the walls blue. So then it looks like you're in a dark, icy tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, there's other cool thing. Like, you get a pet. You've got a pet character. I can't remember what little goober's name is.
Meow.
Meow.
Yeah, Nyan. Yeah, meow. Yeah, the Japanese meow. This is one of my favorite things. Is anytime I'm learning about a new language, my first question is always like, how do they like make dog and cat sounds? Because apparently every nation on Earth hears it differently. And everybody's like, why would you say meow? Like that, they don't say meow. They say, whatever they're wan or whatever, like, for woof or something like that. It's like, everybody's like that. Everywhere I've been, like every language I've heard about, like they're all like it. They all do that.
There are, regional differences, of the sounds animal make in, different countries, dogs that are native to Japan or have, lineages that have been in Japan long enough are going to make different noises than
they
Western
still
ones.
Sound pretty much like dogs.
They're on the same they're on the same wavelength, but they don't sound the same.
Not exactly, but they don't sound like any more like Juan than American dogs sound like woof, right?
I would disagree with you there.
Okay, look, I will go next time I'm in Japan. I will go to a pet store and I will just interrogate the hell out of the first like Shiba I can find. Like,
should have invited
speak to me.
You should have invited an animal sounds expert here. You could handle that. I said animal. I'm embarrassed.
Xerxes, give me some animal crackers.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, like there's other cool kind of not first, but like kind of special things about this game. So for one, like the hero is a young woman, and not only that, but they put the young woman on, I believe, the box art even in North America.
Yep.
I love it. It's so dope because they don't allude to her being a woman at all. It's just like she's just a hero character, and you don't have any question about it. I love it.
Yeah, and she's not all like tarted up in like the Athena, bikini type thing. Like she's actually just wearing like the regular armor.
Yeah, she's wearing a hauberk, leggings, an open front skirt, and boots.
And then if you look at 4, it's like another one that's named Allison. She's just as badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's probably not a coincidence because wasn't one of the main designers on this game a woman?
Okay, so I was going to wait until later into the episode to bring up Ms. Kodama, but I feel that since she's such an important figure and yesterday was International Women's Day, I figure this is a good time to spotlight how this is a very important point in her career and her contributions to the medium.
Yeah, what else can you tell us about her? Word.
All right, so she started her work as an artist, and she joined Sega in 1984, and she worked on a couple things before Phantasy Star, but Phantasy Star was where they actually kind of like gave her creative freedom, and they actually kind of wrote around her designs instead of her designing around the design of the game. And that's where she just kind of threw in, without really thinking of it as like a very big deal, okay, main character is, a young woman, and she's going to have this, cat friend, there's going to be a guy, and then there's also going to be this other character who was originally actually conceptualized as intersex. Ultimately, she went with androgynous for the Lutz character. And
that's I just want to butt in. Is that the character that returns in Phantasy Star 2, sort of?
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And her vision for the game impressed Sega so much that over time they promoted her to director, and she was the director on Phantasy Star 4, and that's why that's the best damn game in the series, because she knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
it was really good.
She also made Magic Knight Ray Earth for the Saturn, and after that she was a producer where she made Skies of Arcadia, another excellent classic game, and the most recent series of work that she contributed to was the Seventh Dragon series. She is often consulted by people at Sega for, okay, you get the whole thing about what do ladies want. What should we do about this? And she is, actually very respected in the field as someone who actually, can point at something and goes like, that's not a good look.
What were you going to say?
No, like the cake and dungeons, that was apparently all the females idea in the game. As, referring back to the Shmuplations article, the guy said that they wanted to have something kind of funny and cute that a person of that rank, which is the governor, would want something as a gift or a prize, and the best thing they could come up with was cake in the dungeon.
Hey, yeah, don't knock on dungeon cake. I mean, for all we know, it could be really good.
That's my favorite thing in this game.
That's even weirder.
For 1,000
Like
say that, damn well,
a dragon just to go get cake.
I mean, there's so many fascinating things about this game, and really, like, so it's real contemporary here is Dragon Quest, maybe the first two, if that. And
so I wanted to talk about that actually.
Okay.
So the game, the more I thought about it, the more it feels more like a PC game than comparing it to Dragon Warrior. Like, I think it's a lot fair to compare it that way.
Okay, besides the dungeon crawling stuff, why do you say that?
The structure on like going to towns, like bouncing around them and finding things, and it's rather kind of open in that regards.
I can actually agree with this. Like, the really early part of the game is very, okay, you need to go here to here to here to here to here, if you actually want to get your party and, not die super horribly. Mm-hmm. And then after a point, it just kind of like, all right, you have a lot of options now. Like, it doesn't become like absolutely nonlinear, but it's open enough that you could, definitely see how it would compare to older titles like Ultima.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah, like, definitely, like, I wandered into quests at times. Like, hi, we're going to do a thing now. I'm like, oh, that was a thing. All right, well, let me look at my big, long checklist, and all right, that was a thing I needed to get done.
And when you get to Spaceship, it's kind of like it's free for all. You can do anything you want to in any order as well. So, like, I have a torch, and I have no idea what I'm going to burn with it.
It's got to be something to burn. I mean, like, the crazy thing is, despite the fact that you get torches and like dungeon cake and stuff, like, it's a sci-fi game. Like, it doesn't just go with the generic like fantasy setting. It goes with like a space fantasy. I don't know what to call it.
So,
but Medusa's in it.
Going back to Ms. Rieko Kodama, she actually made the active decision of, okay, if Dragon Quest is trying to emulate what Western fantasy looks like, I'm going to emulate what Japanese sci-fi would look like, and then mess with that a bit by giving the characters like more medieval outfits.
Yeah, it very much like there's a way, like, I don't know why, but for some reason the game reminds me a bit of like the original Gundam series, not because that one's way more like closer to hard sci-fi, but it is also kind of like the closest you're going to get to like Japanese Star Wars.
Well, it's also the hairstyles.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's in space and we can like travel between planets and things, but for some reason, like we're going to have a giant robot with like a sword and shield because it looks cool. Like there's a lot of that. And I don't feel like that was necessarily, seems like it wasn't questioned by the audience. And that was smart because it wasn't questioned by the audience here. Like the 25 people who played Phantasy Star when it was new in North America. Like I don't think I actually knew somebody who had a Master System and was always talking up Phantasy Star, but they were like JRPG nuts back before we even knew what a JRPG was.
Now, can I say something about Phantasy Star when it came out back in the day?
Yeah.
There's a reason why I didn't play Phantasy Star back in the day and I'm doing it now. It's because the first RPG I played on a Master System was Miracle Warriors. And I don't know if anybody's played Miracle Warriors, but that game is deep fried ass. Like when I first started, literally, I walked out, I got my message from the king. I guess he's the king because he had royalty and shit. So I walked out, ready to fight. And then I saw a townsperson. So I said, let me hit the townsperson because I just want to smack him up a little bit. And he killed me. Literally, I'm not lying to you. The townsperson killed me. And I had a sword and he had a sack. I don't know. So I was like, Phantasy Star, no, F that. I don't even want to touch that. I hate these games. They're all like Miracle Warriors.
I had a Master System when I was a kid also, but like of all like the really good, you gotta play this Master System games that are out there, and I have a majority of them. This was never one of them, so I didn't ever play this as a kid, and like I feel kind of robbed.
The cool thing about the cool thing about playing it now though is that you get to have the FM sound channel, right?
Oh man, no, that's worse. It sounds terrible that way.
I like the PSG. I'm sorry.
Yeah, PSG. Like FM synth may be technically superior, but the music was made for the PSG, and it sounds way better for it.
Yeah, we argue about this in the Pixelated Audio Discord and like Newtopia Nemo. We both love PSG like crazy instead of the FM.
I'm with you.
I find the like harsh like I find that really, really tough to deal with. Maybe it's not really all that different. Maybe it's just like like how they sell, like, you remember when they used to sell those like gold plated, like audiophile CDs? So it's like, it's Elton John's greatest hits. It sounds just like Elton John's greatest hits, but it's made of gold and it therefore must sound better. And like people who are idiots like me were like, you're right. This does sound better. I don't think it really did.
I've got one of my best friends is an audio guy, and like he never skips a chance to dunk on how fucking stupid audio files are.
It's crazy. And what I love the most is I'll get back to Phantasy Star in a second, but like now you go into like any like Walmart or like Target or something, and you'll see these like they're selling like vinyl records now, so you can get like Thriller on vinyl again, as if that's not like everywhere because it sold like a jillion copies.
Yeah,
but it's like, and it's like those new vinyl things are mastered from CDs, so really you're just getting the CD.
Yep. You're getting digital audio to analog, which doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, it's just like I guess it's like a kitschy thing to have, or I don't know what, but
why not?
Taking it back to this, I do appreciate the way that the PSG sound chip kind of like holds notes whenever you're transitioning between a thing, and it just kind of like holds the note, but it also fades it out.
And what was cool to me is I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What was cool to me is if I finally get to see the basis of all these remixes on part 4, because they have like remixes for the dungeon theme, and you can actually see whatever. I like Uabo, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I think his songs are like really dope. But to see that this was the basis for that song of Phantasy Star 4, that's really cool.
I forgot that about Phantasy Star 4. It's really like they kind of revisited it with Phantasy Star Live. That seems like it's more of its own thing. So Phantasy Star really just kind of
PSO is its own thing, and Ms. Kodama never worked on any of that. Like, Phantasy Star was the last that she actually touched of the franchise, and frankly, I think that shows.
Mm-hmm.
So it's anyone who played the game recently, can you remind me what the story is? Because I only remember the beginning part where your like brother gets beaten up.
Yeah, that's a lot of the story. Like literally, the game is like, all right, go. The king is bad. Your brother went to go try to beat him up, and he got his ass kicked for it. And then most of the game is literally just like, I'm 99% sure I know where the king is, and most of the game has just been trying to get through his front door.
I think a more accurate way to phrase it would be like, it's one of those things where you have to kind of like pay attention to like the environment and set pieces to kind of piece together just what the narrative is. It's like, okay, so Alice's brother Nero was killed for resisting King Lashik. Okay. She said, like, and you go around, it's like, okay, what about, the spaceport? The spaceport, you need, papers to get through. Very specific papers that no one in the town is willing to give you, and the robot cops don't give you any kind of instructions on how you would go about getting such a thing. And in order to actually acquire them, you have to go to an entirely different town where someone is selling, like, contraband or falsified papers for a relatively exorbitant price and is, like, trying to keep it hush-hush. Like, I think that speaks, for the setting, more than any cutscene would.
And that there's a presence, like, oppressing every world, but you just don't know what it is yet, and it's like just a mystery to see what is causing all this imbalance, I guess you could say.
Well, I mean, it's still almost less than, like, even the second Dragon Quest game. It's got a little bit of neat atmosphere stuff. Like, you can run in, there's towns that you have, beggars. Like, there's a whole bunch of places that are like, yo, can I have some cola?
That song,
like,
the town song is so sad too. It's like really, it makes you feel like you're like in a slum alley or something. It's really bad.
That's kind of the neater part.
Yeah,
and it's
That's true.
There's like a bunch of other comments about how, it's like, oh, hey, the JRPG trope of monsters have started becoming a thing lately that didn't used to be a thing. So it's like, oh,
yeah.
So then trade between towns is shut down.
Yeah. They've got to explain why there's like no roads, nobody on the roads, like nobody knows anything. This is a kind of a common, I don't want to say problem, but like a thing that happens a lot in early JRPGs, especially where it's like there's a bad guy at the end and, but how the bad guy is affecting the world is not entirely clear. And usually the only way is because there's somebody in some towns like the monsters didn't used to be such a problem, but lately they've been really acting up and causing a ruckus. These monsters are out of control.
Phantasy Star is tricky about that. They explain it 4 games later.
Yeah, that's the other weird thing about Phantasy Stars. It actually does kind of connect, sort of.
Well, Dark Force is the presence of evil that causes all this. So,
yeah.
There is no Dark Force
straight
Phantasy
up,
Star.
4 is more of a sequel to Phantasy Star than 2 is. I know that 2 is chronologically right after, and it is like directly connected, but it feels more like a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the 2's a good. Well, there's another game though. They had a Game Gear game, right? That one.
Those were sequels to 2.
Yeah,
that's the one that I was thinking of being super connected.
There's one Phantasy Star Gaiden that actually has Alice Landale in it, but being Gaiden, it's kind of questionable, like how canonical it would be.
I mean, it's Phantasy Star. Is anybody really keeping that gate? You know what I mean? Like, I think if we just declared it
Not
canon,
since Phantasy Star Online became the whole thing. Ugh.
Yeah, but exactly. So you heard it here first. The Game Gear not Final Fantasy. The Game Gear Final Fantasy is quite a thing to see. The Game Gear Phantasy Star, 100% canonical Phantasy Star. All right. I think we got to kind of move on to ranking, unless there's anything else anybody wanted to mention about like the gameplay that was interesting or, go ahead.
Well, because I kind of wanted to bring it up during ranking. This is a super 1980s RPG though. It's really, really dry gameplay. And while I like it, I don't. It's got a lot of problems. Like Xerxes mentioned earlier, you've got the whole like walking upstairs in Dragon Warrior. This game has key doors that are locked, and there's literally, I think, 2 keys in the game. One of them is most of the doors, and I have absolutely zero idea why the game makes you use the key 6 times a dungeon.
Every time.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
It's really weird. Combat's kind of all over the place. I want to talk about trap chests for a minute. This game's got trap chests, and they're bullshit.
Yep.
I mean, there is, an anti-trap spell.
Yeah, there is, but fun fact, did you know the cancel button's kind of wonky in Phantasy Star?
Yep. You hit cancel, and it says, okay, you do want something to eat.
Yeah, if you're on a yes and no menu, it regards cancel as confirm. You have to go down and hit no. So I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally blown myself up.
I remember that. Oh man, that was the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible.
Another thing that kind of irritates me is that they don't have any way to replenish your magic besides going to the hospital. So, like, you can eat as many burgers as you want to, but burgers don't bring up your magic points, apparently.
Oh, yeah, on that, actually. This game has no status. It's got, like, you're trapped for a turn, but this game's got no status effects.
For a JRPG of this vintage, I'm kind of grateful for that because
yeah, I was thinking about that too. Because I was in a dungeon with a bunch of zombies and like manticores, and I'm like, man, I'm surprised I haven't gotten poisoned yet. Then I thought for a second, like, wait,
you want to get
I haven't gotten poisoned at all?
Yeah,
interesting.
Thank God.
Because the way it used to be, it was like. Now you get poisoned and it's like, it makes more sense. And in probably starting with maybe the later Dragon Quest, but certainly by Final Fantasy IV, I think poisoning is a little bit more fair. But it seems like when you play these older RPGs, it's like, you're poisoned. Like, it's like the 5-finger death touch in Kill Bill where it's like you take 5 steps and then your heart explodes. Like, you have no time.
Yeah, and even that aside, this game's kind of like, sort of mean. Like, dying. Any character, especially Lutz dying, is this gigantic pain in the ass because then you have to figure out you can warp back to the last church you used, but if you forgot to use a church on the right planet, you could warp to 3 planets away. And yeah, there's a lot of weird, dumb tedium in this game.
Norm, I think you played it. You said you played it without a guide or walkthrough or anything, which is commendable. Was it fair? Or did it
without. I purposely didn't look at any, guide or anything like that. And it's kind of fair, but you kind of have to, it's basically touch everything. And I don't even try to use the search key. That's just stupid. How could you search for anything in the entire world? It's just dumb. But I mean, I ran into roadblocks from time to time, but after an hour or 2 of boosting my party to destructive levels, I have a team of assassins, so anybody touches me dies. But I somehow I found my way with the ice digger the other day. I was just running into ice, just ramming into ice, wherever, and I just found something that broke, and I was able to find the torch.
Wow.
Quick question.
No, the prism. My bad.
Have you found the mirror shield yet?
No, I don't. I want to kill Medusa so bad.
Okay. You have to use the search for that.
Oh God. Well, I quit.
I'm not. It threw me. I've been doing most of this game too without a guide. Although I'm a far more impatient person, so I give it about 10 minutes of thought, and then I'm like, yeah, all right, what the hell am I looking for?
Okay, so we got to rank this thing. I think we covered what makes it kind of special, and we kind of covered what makes it kind of a hard sell these days. But
I mean, all things considered, I would rather play OG Phantasy Star than OG Dragon Quest or OG Final Fantasy because it's the most distinct and interesting among them.
Well, let's define OG Final Fantasy, but
the O stands for original, and the G stands for gangsta.
Okay, so let me try that again. I would rather play this over the NES Final Fantasy, but the PlayStation Final Fantasy, not a chance in hell.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's kind of an unfair comparison. It's oh yeah, let's try. How about this version that came out 10 years later? I'd rather play that one.
It is unfair, but I agree.
Well, yeah, but I can play literally anything at any time. So, and we've got to rank all 47,000 games. We're contractually obligated.
I mean, if I can play anything, then I'll just play Final Fantasy V again.
But Anyway.
So, okay. But I think that's a good point though, is like playing the original Final Fantasy is probably not really worth it, simply because there's other Final Fantasy games that play exactly the same way, but better. Whereas with Phantasy Star, there's no Phantasy Star that plays the same exactly as another Phantasy Star, because there's only 5 of them, if we count the Gaiden, which I just declared to be canon. So like, it's like each one is kind of special or something in its own way. I feel like this game has a lot of character. The only thing it's really missing is like, although the enemy animations are really cool to see that in a game like this, you don't have like the Dragon Quest style, like those, it is generic fantasy stuff, but it has so much heart to it, like the designs.
Oh, I love the way it looks. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and, I will never stop shouting from the rooftops about how, like, okay, here we go. The first, like, effectively AAA RPG that stars a lady. And it's, the best in its class of its time.
Telling you. Yeah, it's necessary play.
Yeah, that's a good point. Clade, were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say that I was just going to point out that we do eventually have to rank this.
And that's why I'm saying that.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm going to say that I don't think this goes at all above Lunar. I think that's the ceiling here.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
Whoa.
Are you begging to get slinkied, Clade?
It's down here somewhere. I just have to find it. Like, I know it's down here.
I don't even know.
No, I don't know. Why do you think it has to go below Lunar?
Well, because after I'm done with this game, I'm never going to touch it again. Never in a million years. It's charming as hell, but it's got a lot of tedium bullshit. I don't like it all. Yeah. And it was a fun ride the first time through, but I mean, hell, I've played Lunar 3 times now.
Yes, but you're a lunatic.
Well, yeah, I'm a lunatic.
You're a lunar.
My brand of lunacy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to point out that Lunar is sitting at 272, which is pretty damn low for a game that is this much of a hallmark and an influence.
But it's not really.
Oh, bullshit. Don't get
wait.
bullshit.
Like, let's not. All right, so I think we've got our low bid here. Who thinks they would put it the highest out of all of us?
Me.
Okay, where would you put
naturally.
it?
I'd put it above Dragon Quest V, which is sitting at 134.
And why would you do that?
Basically, every single argument that I already made regarding, how much of a role model that this game is regarding, like, hey, women can be heroes too.
That's the one reason I really like this game so much. I mean, they, like I said, they don't question the fact that she's a woman, and they don't even question the fact that Meow is a cat. It's so dope.
Yeah. Can I forget? Like, can you have like most of your party die, and then the cat like drags your bodies back down? And
Yes.
I'm not sure, but that would be seriously dope.
You can.
Okay. All right. That right there. That means it goes a little bit higher.
Are you saying that Meow is a Dog's Power-esque character?
No, I'm just saying that. just thinking about that is funny to me. So.
You know what? The fact that we have R-Type up there above like some of the other shooters means that it should go a little higher too, because R-Type is the beginning of, that type of game, but there are better versions of R-Types, but,
True, right.
So I think we should rate a little bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, R-Type is like, it's probably not the R-Type to go to if you want to play R-Type.
Yeah, that's probably R-Type 3.
But
3, 2, 1, let's go.
But it does have a lot of, what, episode 33? I can't even remember what we were thinking, but I'm guessing it's because like R-Type was, it may not be the go-to game for that series anymore, but it did start the series.
All considered,
and it has,
given that it was like over 100 episodes ago, I'm going to guess that it used to be way higher and then a bunch of shit got put over it.
Well, I think it might have been way lower, and then you know what I mean? Like, but because it's right around like Final Fantasy Tactics, Mega Man 3, like other games, those kind of act as like kind of like life support for other, like if you're surrounded by games that are really, really good, it keeps you up there in the list. Fair enough. Dragon Quest V, I would, I think that's pretty fair. It's a little bit higher than I would go.
Well,
Norm,
okay, so
let's hear what Norm has to say.
Okay.
I'm good with a little bit. I would actually go maybe because she's talking about Loom and Ninja Warriors, yeah, those are classics. So I have to put it at least. I put it above Dragon Quest just for the mere fact that it began the this type of genre. Not this type of genre, but this type of game style.
Right,
which is the same thing as genre.
Influence.
Yeah, influence. There we go.
Okay, all right. Can I make a case for putting it below Dragon Quest V?
Why is that?
I was saying that, hoping that a good idea would pop into my brain, and I was able to finish that.
Okay, Edgeworth.
Okay, I got something for you.
I can't do it.
Just to be complicated?
Yeah, just to drag this out a little bit longer.
Xerxes
right.
is just looking to channel his inner Edgeworth.
You make a
from
good
his
argument.
attorney.
Okay, so can we put it right above Dragon Quest V, and we'll say
sure.
it's or right below?
I'd say above.
Right below. Hold on here. Because we're still ranking games, and Phantasy Star as an RPG isn't that great, is the problem.
It's fine.
I would say that
it's better than
there's
Dragon Quest 1. It's better than Dragon Quest 2. It's better than Final Fantasy.
Look,
I'm having a fun time.
there are things. Remember, there are other purposes to this list. It's not. The purposes change depending on what I want to happen at the end of the episode, but the purposes can be like people. It's worth checking out and trying, even if you're not used to games like this, because it is just different enough. It's very colorful. It's very beautiful. It's got great music. It's one of the few Master System games that, really just trounces its competition on the NES.
That was another thing that I wanted to add, this is a Master System game. We don't have a lot of Master System games on the upper end of the list. Hell, what even is the highest Master System game on this list?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. This is like a Master System
and this is quite possibly the best game on the Master System,
Yeah, easily.
all things considered.
Could be. I mean, there's like
Alpha.
some Wonder Boy games, but they were on other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the other thing is like, I would say that, the other good Master System games, like they don't really stack up to their competitors. Like Zillion kicks ass. It's great, but it's not Metroid or like Zelda 2 or anything like that.
That's what I'm saying about Phantasy Star.
Ms. Kodama did do the designs for Zillion, incidentally.
It only really holds up in 1988.
Okay. How about this? We will acknowledge your opinion, Clade, by putting it right below Dragon Quest V. Keeping in mind that in a list this long, that is almost indistinguishable and that you're getting it. Okay. So nobody can say, because, this isn't my penance for the Slinky. So how about that? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's all right.
Oh, what do I have to do? Okay. That's where it goes. Right below Dragon Quest V, right above whatever is previously below Dragon Quest V. I lost it.
Oddworld.
Oddworld.
Spider-Man. Oh, no, excuse me. Oddworld. Dave's Odyssey.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to go above Oddworld. I mean, come on.
Yes, please.
So, just if you're having your doubts, just remember, you could kill your entire party except for this magic space cat. That magic space cat will dutifully and heroically drag your corpses back to town and rejuvenate them. Give it a shot. It's an amazing game. It's beautiful. It's
and this is
one
why
of a
cats
kind.
are better than dogs.
Give it a shot. Thanks, everybody. And what was that? What was I supposed to do before we left?
Thank you again, Norm, for guesting.
Yeah, and thanks for the song.
Thank you for the beat, dude. I loved it. The whole performance was so dope. I loved it.
I thought it was so cool. It's like it gives our show so much. Like it gets us off this. Like I always feel like we cannot deliver on the song. So it's like, it sounds like, oh man, these guys are going to just like rip into this game. They're going to go, and now it's like, it's nothing changed. We're not, you get but yeah, so, but hey, we can live up to it one day, I'm sure. So check, Norm out. He's on Twitter at Normally Retro, right?
Yep. Normally Retro, and check Rise From Your Grave, because who doesn't want to hear Michael Jackson sound clips?
I can't think of a single person. Yeah. That's it. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
We're bad.
That's all for this episode. Special thanks goes out to our lovely co-hosts and compatriots, our booking agent Jeff Rude, our theme song MC Norm, check him out at Normally Retro on Twitter, and our technical assistant, video editor, and scriptwriter Ed Burns. You can support this podcast by making a small monthly donation at patreon.com/HG101. I know, I did. By subscribing to the HG101 YouTube channel, and by following at GC9X and at HG_101 on Twitter. You can also hang out with us at our Discord channel. It's at bit.ly/HD Discord. But most importantly, help us spread the love of games by getting on iTunes, subscribing to HG101, and giving us a 5-star review. Do it because you like us and you want us to succeed. Until next time, keep keeping it real.